All right. So we are going to start covering a little bit of witchcraft and family bloodlines on this topic. I know some of y'all know, probably a lot of y'all know what I'm talking about. Now, I hope I'm not the only one who's had to not only journey through it or encounter it, but it's there, it's real. Okay. Um, Growing up, I was real tight knit with certain types of like cousins and people, um, in both the mother side, but not my dad's side, because my dad, not my dad's side, because I didn't even reunite with my dad's side or even meet them. I didn't even know who they are until I was in my 30s, early 30s. Okay, and I'm not too far off from there. I'm not going to say my age, but it was some years ago now. Okay, but growing up, I was close, birthday parties, you name it, Christmas, all that, um, with a certain cousin who is the daughter. And this is a direct, this is not through like step people, step families. This is direct. This is my cousin who is the daughter of, my uncle who is the brother of my mother. Okay. So it's a direct linkage. However, the mom was at that time growing up, at least when I was younger, as I know, she would talk about God and Jesus and all that. And I really didn't know all this stuff, whatever. I didn't have revelation. I just would listen or whatever here and there. But people knew her for her faith. Some people associated her with the faith of Jesus Christ. Okay, so she did practice it and all that. And so me and the cousin, which is her daughter, her name is Betty. I would say her last name, but I don't think it really matters at this point. Because I'm like, I told you guys, I'm not going to be hiding names. I'm not going to be like people who write those books, where they hide names and stuff. Because I'll get confused. I'm like, who is that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to create names on top of people because I don't want to confuse myself. Okay. So her name is Betty. I'm using real names for myself, mostly for myself. And Betty had two other brothers who are also my cousins. They're much older than her. They're all like, some years apart. Okay. So she's the youngest. Eddie is the middle. And then the oldest is named Nathan. So let's just talk about Betty. Growing up, we were tight knit. We would go to each other's houses, spend a lot of time together, school, even after school, during weekdays, weekends, and stuff like that. I think her mom sometimes would get like annoyed and want some separation with, her family, my family. And I don't blame her. Looking back this day, I just don't blame her for that. But growing up, it's like, I know my mom started to feel some kind of type of way, like, that kind of thing, like why they don't want to, want the cousins to play together or whatever, or spend time together or whatever. So sometimes there'll be jealousies when like we shared the same type of family friends. Your family friends would invite Betty and then they don't invite me, or vice versa, that kind of thing. So sometimes there'll be some jealousy and some type of feelings running in that arena. Okay. So time goes on. Let's just pass forward to like probably my teenage years. I noticed that, that the mom, which is the aunt, is not really talking about God like she used to. She probably still believed a little bit, but we all knew um that she fell away. Like she doesn't practice the religion, and yada yada. And I had another aunt at that time who came to the U.S. a little bit later, because me and Betty was born here, but I wasn't. I came to the U.S. in the 90s, or very early 90, like around 90, right after the California earthquake, which is interesting. And I came here, and sorry, I'm switching the camera a little bit. Um, I came here early 90. Betty and the mom were already here. The uncle, which is her dad, were already here. So supposedly they helped us, or they helped my mom at least, so we can be established here a little bit, maybe financially or just through connections or whatever, because it's hard, because you got to figure it out when you come as an immigrant here. So anyway, um, time goes by, and now we're in our teenage years. We start to probably, I think we started to drift apart, probably even preteens, because we moved away. we used to live in the Bay Area, like all in a small knit like community area with a lot of other Kenyans. But we moved away because of my mom remarrying who's now my stepfather, and we had to move for his work purposes, and he was the um well, my mom were too, but like he was, we just did it because of him and his family. And by the way, when she remarried my mom, um she remarried and he already had his own daughter from another marriage, of Americans. They're not Kenyans, they're Black American. And there was some drama with that maybe if I have time, or if I have the lineage, I'll the level, not the lineage, sorry, the um if I want to talk about it, I'll talk about it in another video, because that's its own drama. But because these are things I'm going to speak about, these things in a spiritual point of view mostly, not like so much for the drama effect, because this is not a Jerry Springer show. Okay, for those who remember him. So time goes on, as I said, and we, sometimes the thing is, I think Betty still kind of wanted to connect, or that maybe the dad, because he's my mom's brother, wanted her to still like have that cousin connection with me. I don't know what the motive was, but they would still invite me like on trips when they go out of town, and of course it would be all on like their expense. Like I don't even think they asked my mom for money. Maybe even if she offered to help pay for it or whatever, I don't know, but it normally would be on their expense. And because my uncle, like, which is her dad, my uncle John, that's her dad's name. He would invest in like timeshares and stuff like that. So when they go on trips, like, you have to use that stuff. So anyway, there was a time we ended up going on a trip to like the Napa area where there's wine, and he's a drinker. He likes his wine and stuff like that. And she's not so much. Maybe she might have a little. I don't even recall her drinking anything. But him, he would do it, and then he would still drive. And there was one time when we were in Napa, we were trying to go somewhere. I can't remember when, because now this is a long time ago. But we went. I just remember this. We went up the wrong way road, and we could have gotten hit. And the daughter Betty went off on him like like someone would go off on their child. So she went off on her dad, like, but the way she grew up, the mom would not discipline her. The dad, yeah, sometimes, but the mom would just allow her to mouth off. And sometimes she might get a slap or a pinch, but it was very rare. And people criticize that, especially Kenyans, because Africans, we discipline. Like we use the belt, we use all this, you know what I mean? And it's normal in the culture, and people normally turn out fine. Like, but here, I guess if you do it, it might be considered abuse or whatever. But she didn't know how to tame her tongue, and she would go off on her parents like, whoa, like everyone would be shocked at times. And so anyway, um I realized there's this competition that her mom was doing with me and Betty, right? Like, with the future, like who's going to be successful or more successful than the other, that type of thing. So when we were in Napa, we stayed in a hotel, and it was Betty who was creating all these things that we should do, which cost money. We should go this, we should go to the psychic, we should do this, get a spa, blah, blah, blah. And then the mom went off and said, no. I mean, you know what? She went off and she said, she referred to me. She said, Sarah will get her own money. She'll make her own money and do these things. And it's like, Betty was like offended. It's like, why'd you say that, mom? That kind of thing. And I agreed, because I'm like, why would you? Because I'm a teenager at this time. I'm like, why would you invite people? And then it's not even me suggesting to go places and telling them to spend money. It's her daughter who's doing it. So things like that, like, you know what I mean? So we drifted apart anyway, because seasons change and times do change and circumstances change. And we already live far apart. So we'd see each other on these like trips. So growing up, things just changed. We weren't that tight knit, cousin relationship. And, um, as as I entered college, we both were in college and stuff. She went to like an expensive school where her parents paid for it. And I had to take out loans for mine, which I just look back, I'm like, I think that's kind of unfair, but whatever. Um, we drifted apart. And so one time we did see each other as adults now. And I went to go visit them in their house. Like, I forgot, because they would move sometimes. They would just like get a new house or whatever, or and then rent, like do Airbnb before Airbnb was. You know what I mean? And so one time I went to visit them, and me and Betty got in an altercation, or like a disagreement, and Betty went off on me like she was like king of the world, like, threatening me and stuff like that. And so I started to see her way differently. I started to like kind of ignore her. I think she kept in touch, or, we kept in touch maybe a little bit time to time, but we just drifted apart. We have nothing in common no more. And so time goes on, and I, um, I ended up, doing my school and stuff, and things changed for me and stuff. And I kept hearing that she was in the Bay Area. She had a good job marketing and all that. And so I come back to the Bay Area, as I told you guys in the first video, where I finished my degree in the financial industry, and I came from Bakersfield back to Bay Area, and I kind of really didn't care for it. But I told you my aunt hosted me, and I thought it was just like good opportunity, because I was getting phone calls for job opportunities out there anyway, more so. So I come up there, and I hear that she's around, that she lives in like Oakland or Bay Area. And I'm like, oh, cool. I guess I'll connect. People were like kind of encouraging me to connect with her. And I did. And I got ignored. I got ignored, y'all. And so I started to get some things with this woman, that she was, because her mom, they started accusing, I told you guys her mom used to believe and follow Jesus. Well, even when you don't follow him, you could still fall into, the practice of witchcraft and other types of religions or other things. And so there was rumors, as an adult, that, the mom became witchy, because her mom was like that. You know what I mean? My aunt's mom. And so, and my aunt's mom has sisters here in the US, and they're not great people. I'm not going to cover them too much, but I will mention them because it's all part of this witchcraft agenda, and this sorcery and stuff like that, and things that I felt like they were doing in the family, like in the families, or they were sending spirits and stuff. So we'll get into that. So I'm just giving you guys a little bit intro of this family background, and with Betty, because Betty thinks she is on top of the world. Nobody can touch her. Now she's doing this witchcraft, which I can almost bet you she is, and she has been doing. I told you she ignored me, right? And when they would come out, I would hear like they come out to the Bay Area. They would have gatherings with my uncle, which is her dad, and her dad used to like look out for me. Like, he used to seem like he cared, at least for what I knew. And her dad became defiled by them. You know what I mean? So I would hear of gatherings that they would come out to the Bay Area, and they knew that I'm out here, and they wouldn't invite me or nothing at all. You know what I mean? And this includes the dad. So he's just as guilty as them, because he could stand up. He's the man, the household. You know what I mean? The head of the household. And so anyway, and I felt like the mom was part of that too. She infiltrated those spirits in them. But anyway, I'm just telling you. So I just hear that, Betty got a good job marketing. She's living on top of the world. Her pride is all over the place and flying off. Her head is flying off because it's so big, because she's getting all this success with her marketing thing. And I remember younger, she said, I'm going to be so rich. I'm going to have drivers. I don't even need to drive. That's how conceited and nasty she is as a person. So we're going to get into that later. I'm not going to mention her last name, because I am going to talk about her characteristics. So, but you all know her. Her name is Betty. She has an older brother named Eddie. He was in the film industry. I don't know if he's still doing movies and stuff, but he's probably like one of the only Kenyans who's doing it. So whatever. And then Nathan, their older brother. Nathan, I think, is probably, I don't want to call him innocent, but you don't hear of drama coming from him too much. No. All right. I'm going to close this because I don't want this video to be too long. But I'm going to start talking more in depth into stuff, and giving you guys, things and stuff like that happen. Okay.